welcome to the Latched Mama podcast. I'm Lindi. I'm not Melissa today. And I'm going to see if I can fill some big shoes. She's currently at the beach, spending some time with the kids. And so I'm here today with Eryn Cobb, and we're going to talk kind of all things kind of single parenting.
Yeah.
So come join us.
You're listening to the Latched Mama podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, business owner and tired mom of 5. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, nursing, parenting, and all things motherhood.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm using my headphones.
Happy to
There
be
we
here.
go.
I do want to say, like, as a kind of a disclaimer, that I became a single parent later on. So I would not say that I'm like the authority on single parenting at all, but I am definitely happy to share my experiences. Like, I know single parenting as a new mom or with like little kids can be very different, but my kids were a little bit older when I became a single parent. So my experience isn't all encompassing, but hopefully I can be a little encouraging to people, to other moms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I know I was diving just a little bit in last night because like as I sit here today, I have a hard time relating. Mm-hmm. We don't have a whole lot of, I was thinking of like our extended family, and I do have an aunt who is single, but she has grown daughters now and even some grandkids. But I just would love to hear from a personal, perspective and hear the challenges and maybe see some of the positives in there, but understand that it is a difficult journey and kind of just a little bit of kind of like how you got here. But I was surprised when I was just looking a little bit of stats last night, and it was like over 13 million U.S. households have single parents at the head of them, which is almost like 25%. It's like a 1 in 4.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I wasn't really sure. I really kind of sat with that a little bit. And so not getting into stats today, but it was like a wow. It was an eye opener, and you get to think and you can try and imagine. But I think until you kind of hear from someone's story, I think that's
I think single parents are really underrepresented, and America's founded on this like American dream, 2.5 kids living in the suburbs, and that's just how we think of the American family, but that's just not really true anymore. And I'm guilty of it. I think there's still, of course it's changed a lot, but I think there's still like a little bit of a stigma to it that people kind of think, oh, well, why is she single? Like, what did she do? That kind of thing. And I'm guilty of like having those kind of thoughts before. And then you find yourself in that position and you're like, oh, I'm no better than anybody else. Here I am. I'm no better than anybody else. Yeah. And I didn't arrive here by my own doing, but even if I had, that doesn't change like my value as a mom and as the head of the household.
Absolutely.
I was married for 14 years.
I was going to ask you a little bit about like, just tell us a little bit about your journey to kind of where you're at now. So
I got married really young. I was 22. I was 22. Yeah. Got married young, had a baby the very next year, became a stay-at-home parent. We ended up having 3 kids, and there were problems in our marriage that we probably didn't address properly. But, I was raised like to basically continue in marriage at all costs. And it was an unhealthy situation, and I should have left. But again, there's that stigma, especially I grew up in the church, and it's very much like marriage at all costs. So I stayed, and then, I was stay-at-home mom for 12 and a half years. And then one day I found out that my husband was cheating on me. It was my birthday, actually, when I found out.
Was that the day in the office? Or did you know before?
I knew
because I know, like, I don't know you very well, but I've heard parts of the story, and I've been in and out of the office, like a little bit over the course of your journey. And I just remember some of those conversations.
Yeah. So I started
and just
here,
how difficult that was.
Yeah. I started here about 2 weeks after I found out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes.
Yeah. I found out he was cheating on me, and, you know, it was a really hard decision. You know, do I stay for the kids? Do I leave? There were a lot of people giving me a lot of opinions. My first thoughts were like, what can I do? I've been a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. I have no skills. I have no job experience. I have no money. I have no prospects. I was 36 at the time with 3 children. Like, who's ever going to want me? So I was like, I kind of felt trapped. But at the same time, I knew that I could not disrespect myself enough to stay. I knew I had to leave. So I did have a lot of support, which I know a lot of moms that are in that situation don't have a lot of family support. I did have wonderful friends and family that really supported me because I was not functioning.
Yeah.
It was really like a complete world upside down. Like,
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was not functioning. So my family and friends were very supportive. But yeah, I was like, well, I got to get a job. So I knew April we had been in a book club together a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
And Karen, actually, who just started working here, was like, hey, I think April said that Latched Mama is hiring. And I was like, oh, okay. So I emailed April, and really the rest is history.
Oh, wow.
I started here about 2 weeks later, and I didn't mention, I don't know how much everyone knew at first, because I didn't mention at first. I was like, I don't want them to hire me because they feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
So, but I started here, and it's just been like the best, most, like, I couldn't have asked for a more supportive work environment. I know you've seen me in here in tears a few times with just dealing with the whole fallout from the divorce. It's not been an easy journey over the last couple of years, but you guys have all been so supportive, and I've been so fortunate to have such a soft place to land on those hard days when I come to work and, you know, things just aren't right, and everybody's been great.
Oh, I just think it's absolutely incredible that was 2 weeks before. It happened 2 weeks before, and I don't know. I think I might have been holed up in bed. I just think that's incredible strength to say, all right, I'm going to, stand up and go find a job, and, these 3 incredibly important people at home.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Oh, thanks. It was,
I really do.
I definitely had, like I said, a lot of support, and my family was like, I'll help you. What do you need? And I'll help you.
I was going to ask because I couldn't remember.
Your resume.
Yeah. Like kind of who is on your side, who helped you navigate kind of that first step into this unknown.
Yeah. My parents were supportive, and like they helped me hire a lawyer and all that. And then my sisters stepped in and really like took care of my kids. Basically for 2 months, I was basically useless.
So they're local.
One
you have
is
some family. Okay.
One is local. The other one lives in southern Georgia. And as soon as she heard what happened, she and her husband and their 3 kids at the time drove all the way up from Georgia and stayed for like 3 weeks.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And they were amazing. All of them were amazing. And her husband, like the way that he stepped in and like loved on my kids, I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. I'm going to go to another question. What is your biggest struggle with being a single mom?
It is, I've thought about this a lot because, I have 2 jobs, and like the busyness can be a lot, but it's really just, you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
I think the biggest struggle is probably just the fact that I am where the buck stops for my children. Like I don't have any backup. If they're having a bad day, if I'm having a bad day, I can't tap out. If they're being crazy as kids are and, yelling and screaming, I don't have a backup parent to step in and say, hey, don't talk to your mother like that, So when they're struggling and just knowing that they look to me for all that support and to be their rock. Like that is probably the biggest challenge. I was actually just saying to my therapist that I just feel like I have a lot of people's emotions to manage. You know, like I have to make sure, especially like today was their first day of school and everybody was so nervous and like, you know, acting crazy because they were nervous. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot take one more minute of this because they look to me for that comfort and stability. And sometimes I don't feel that stable.
I know.
But I got to fake it till I make it.
So here's my question. How are you able to find that little bit of time that is for you? I know you mentioned you talked to someone, which I think is incredible. I do too, which is great. But how are you able to find that little bit of time for you to kind of like do something for you or to regroup or whatever it is that helps you stay sane?
Yeah. So thankfully my kids are older, so they are a little bit self-sufficient, which is nice because I can, you know, watch TV, whatever. They're not going to kill each other in the other room.
Yeah.
Probably.
No
guarantees. No guarantees. But most likely they're going to be okay while I watch TV in the other room. Or, you know, my oldest is almost 15. So like I can scoot out and go get my nails done if I need to and like that kind of thing. And then their dad is still in the picture. So they go stay with him every other weekend, which by the time we get to that weekend, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready. It's, you know, 2 weeks, 24/7.
So they're with you every other day.
Yeah,
it's
they're
just
with
that
me.
every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're with me full time, and then they go to their dad's every other weekend. So by the time that weekend comes around, I'm I'm ready to drop them off. Of course, then by the time Monday rolls around, I miss them. But
And how does that communication go for you? I'm sure there's not easy times. Are there things that you've found that can help that kind of communication between, you know, that partner and
it's
and
tough.
you?
Honestly, it's tough. It's, you know, at first there was a lot of hurt. And
like I was thinking, is time a factor?
Oh, time heals a lot. Time heals a lot. You know, it's still tough. It's still, you know, we work together well most of the time, but we do have conflicting interests sometimes. And I struggle with the fact that, you know, I am the full-time parent and that's what I wanted. Right away, I was like, I'm not giving up my kids. Like, you can have them every other weekend. That's it. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 12 years and I was not ready to give my kids up half the time or anything, you know, this is what I wanted. And yet it's really hard. Like when I was just working through my schedule as school is starting and activities are starting. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get everybody to all their activities.
Yeah.
But their dad's like, well, you wanted them full time. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. But that's still not a very nice thing to say.
I know. Doesn't make it any easier, right? Yeah.
Right. So, you know, we're definitely, there was probably about 6 months where I couldn't speak to him without getting very upset and emotional. Once we did not go to court. We ended up arriving at a custody agreement, a legal agreement. And once that was settled, that did take a lot of the emotion out of it because everything was written out on paper.
Yeah.
And, you know, nothing was really at stake.
Yeah.
So to speak. And man, you do go through every little thing in that agreement and list everything out. So that is a difficult process, but once it's done, it's such a relief because you can just point back at that.
Yeah.
And say, well,
how long did that take you guys?
It took about 6 months. Took about 6
I'm
months.
Watching a dear friend go through the beginning of that. Well, actually it's going on like 9-12 months and it's just things keep popping up and it's just she's struggling to kind of see that end in sight right now. And
it's so tough.
Yeah, it just hurts. Like my heart just hurts watching.
Yeah, and it's just you feel this constant pit in your stomach, like what is today going to bring? But on the other side of that, it is a lot easier. Then there's the issue of, well, is so-and-so holding up their end of the agreement? do I have any recourse? That's a whole other issue. But for the most part, we do pretty well.
Yeah.
It's also in our agreement that he has to pick the kids up and take them to school every morning. So fingers crossed that works out well.
Okay.
And then I pick them up, which is nice for him because it's a way that he can see them during the week. And then it's nice for me because I don't have to run the kids around.
Yeah. So you guys must be relatively close, like distance.
Or
does he drive quite a ways?
We were close. He is currently living about like 45 minutes away.
Okay.
But he's moving closer, which will make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully get a little bit more help in the afternoons.
Yeah.
But it's been a journey. And sometimes I still get very angry. Like if there's still a lot of emotions buried, you kind of bury the hatchet and you move on, but then little things can kind of bring that up and trigger you and like take you back to those really raw feelings from when everything first happened. So it's
well, we're human, and it's such a part of you, of us, that it's gonna stay. I think part of that is gonna stay. It's trying to like navigate through those. And
I mean, it's like grief, like it becomes less acute, less piercing, and more of like a dull ache.
Yeah. No, I can understand. Yeah. Or I can try to. Okay. Through all the struggles, my next one is kind of, are there any pros to being a single mom? I don't know. Maybe even point to like some good parts.
No, there are.
Yeah.
There totally are. Once you settle into your routine, it can be really great. Just the fact that like the kids and I have our own thing, and like I don't have to worry about is my husband doing his part with the kids? Is he getting enough time with the kids? Did I cook him a good dinner? Like the kids don't care if they eat pizza rolls.
Yeah.
And frankly, they eat pizza rolls a lot. That's one thing I've kind of had to let go of, is just, I'm not Susie Homemaker anymore. And sometimes we have cereal for dinner, and that's okay. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. I was just saying the other day that it's kind of nice not to have to worry about, is my spouse being a good parent? Is my spouse getting that time with the kids? Because I can just focus on me and the kids. And also that every other weekend when I don't have any kids, and I can do whatever I want, is kind of nice. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Or maybe like in your situation, like it gave you that time really to focus on you.
Yeah.
And to
100%.
like be able to heal you and be a stronger you.
Absolutely.
Because that situation was not a healthy one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people around this office can probably attest to the fact that I'm a completely different person than I was when I started here 2 years ago. I've grown a lot. I've taken the time to go to therapy and really work through and rediscover who I am and who I want to be. And that has been a real gift, because I finally feel free to be myself after so many years of kind of trying to fit this marriage mold that I thought I had to fit into. Yeah. And I wasn't happy, but I felt like I had to fit it. I felt like it was the right thing to do. So I just forced myself into a mold that didn't fit me. And I feel like I'm more myself now than I've ever been, honestly. And I've, really rediscovered my likes and dislikes and my passions, and without feeling stifled, which is, it's been really liberating. I started teaching classes at the gym about 8 months into the whole divorce process, and it just completely changed my life. Like now I teach 6 classes a week, and I'm just like, I'm super busy, but I'm happier, I think, than I've ever been. Yeah. It's not without its challenges, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I like it. It just sounds happy, and like seeing a smile on your face. I know it's hard to talk about, but you can tell that you're just...
Now that a lot of the really acute pain is in the rearview mirror, it's easier to focus on the fact that almost the affair was almost like a gift, because I don't think I ever would have left.
Yeah.
And I should have.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever would have left otherwise. So it kind of was, at the time, it did not feel like it. And my mom, I just was talking to her this past weekend about it. And I said, I'm thankful for it because it gave me a new life. But she was like, well, I tried to tell you that back then. I was like, Mom, I was not ready to hear it.
Just wasn't the time.
I was in so much pain. Oh gosh, physical pain. I mean, that's another thing that helped. I'm on medication.
Yeah. Well, good. If it helps, well, good.
I was in physical agony, just like anxiety ridden, heart racing, shaking. My hands were shaking.
This was right after?
Yeah, for a couple months afterwards, and people would stop me.
Almost like shock.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing what that anxiety and stress and possibly like very quick like depression maybe even can do physically to your body.
Oh, I lost like 15
insane.
pounds in 3 weeks. I wasn't eating. Nothing tasted good. But like I got on medication and I started taking care of myself, going to therapy. And I am so thankful now that it all happened, even though it was excruciating at the time.
Yeah. Now you have an older one. How old is he? 15?
He'll be 15 in November. Yeah.
Have you had any of these conversations with him? Like, or has he even said, Mom, like, hey, today I remembered just back when this first happened. Like, are there any of those conversations? Do they remember those first 3 weeks or anything like that? Or was it just kind of all a blur to them too?
I think the older two definitely remember. My oldest, he doesn't say a lot about it, but he is very sweet, and he'll, he's a teenager.
Understands.
So he understands. He's a teenager. So, he's got his moments.
Yeah.
But, he just every once in a while, he'll just come up to me and say, thanks, Mom. Thanks for working so hard for us. And, he'll say, I'm really glad that you're so happy. And my daughter, who is almost 12, she'll be 12 in just a few weeks. She's my like deep thinker. And we've had some conversations about it. She's definitely like my super empathetic soul. Like she gets it. Yeah. So she will definitely want to talk about it. My policy with them from the beginning has been just to be open and honest, age appropriate.
Right.
But, to be as open and honest as possible. I don't think anything can be gained by hiding things or keeping secrets. It's going to come out eventually. Yeah. So I've been very open with them about everything. And, I think that's been really healthy. I remember in the early days, when Jackson, my oldest, he was 12 at the time, and he was just really angry, which is understandable. He was so angry. His whole life had been torn apart. He was angry at me. He was angry at his dad. And, I sat him down one day and I just said, what do you need from me? Like, what would help you to start to heal? What can I do? And he just said, I need to know everything. Oh. And I was like, okay, here you go. And I laid it all out for him. And honestly, it was like a switch went off. Like he just needed to be included in the conversation. He needed to feel like he was valued enough to be included in the conversation. And I mean, honestly, from then on, of course, we've had some difficult moments, but that was such a big deal just to realize, they want to know what's going on. They don't want to, just trust Mom and Dad. Everything's going to be fine, because clearly everything's not fine. Right. So it was, that was really eye-opening. And ever since then, I've had like a very open policy with them.
No, I think that's incredible. And I think it is definitely something that I try to do with the kids as well. And just keep it age appropriate, but make them know that they are valued and they're intelligent, and they understand more than you think they do. And I think maybe letting them think that they don't know, or we think that they don't know, or they can't understand something, it's just it's not beneficial.
Right. Yeah, they're like not only valuing them as your children, but as autonomous people.
Yeah, like empowering them in their kind of position in that family. And
Totally, yeah. And I think that applies to any family, really, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me see what else I got. Oh, how do you create balance? And maybe, I mean, we hit a little bit on that kind of with communication and whatnot, but balance in general, I don't know.
So I don't really. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants.
Okay. That's okay.
You just have to lower your standards for yourself. I know
what you're saying.
I care about balance. I care about everything, but you just have to give yourself some grace. Yeah. Like some days you're going to have family pizza and movie night and all cuddle on the couch and have a great night. And some days everybody's going to be in their own rooms playing on their phones and you're going to be on the couch playing on your phone, and that's fine.
Yep.
And some days you're going to say, I'm going to take a break from work and take you to the park.
Yeah.
But then other days you're going to say, shut up, I'm working.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. Yeah, sometimes things need to get done. And then sometimes I think you need to slow down and take a look around. And sometimes I have to look at my kids and I'm like, are they looking to have a conversation? Like, are they looking for that connection? And I think you have to sometimes put down those things to see how I can just be with them in the moment. And it's not as important as dinner and it's not as important as anything else. And
totally. Yeah. And I think you can sense that. Like if you are really communicating with your kids and if you're really open with them, you can sense when things are off. Yeah. You can sense when they're not feeling heard or not feeling seen. And, you just take a minute and you figure out and it doesn't have to be big. It can be simple. Like, let's watch a movie together. Yeah. Sometimes that's all they need.
Or as you're doing and making them feel valued and important and, kind of grown up, I feel they start to come to you. They'll start coming, you're like cooking dinner or something and they'll come hang around. And I'm like, hey.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what's up?
I know recently I was processing returns at home and my daughter wanted to help me. And she came in and she was like, I would hold up the clothes and she'd inspect them for flaws and then I'd fold them and she'd put them in the bag.
Yeah.
And they just want to be near you sometimes and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like,
but I think that shows just the incredible things that you're doing because I do. Because I can, they can choose to kind of turn away and try to figure out problems on their own, which I think is good. Yeah. But for them to have that confidence to want to come and find that connection or whatnot, I think that's...
Yeah. I try to...
Something's working.
Even in my bad moments, I try to remember, again, that I am their soft place to land. I am where they go when... I'm their mom. I'm 38. I still want my mom sometimes,
Yep. No, I agree. Okay. Got two more. All right. Tell me about dating as a single mom, if you care to share.
Oh, Lord.
Or maybe like when you were ready or I don't know. Because I know we've heard some date stories, right?
I actually am dating someone now. We've been together for like 7 months, which has been great.
Wow.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But yeah, I've gone on some dates. I
feel we need some date stories. Tell us, can you share your craziest one or something wild?
I've got some good ones. I went on this one date. So I've been on the dating apps. I've tried several dating apps. And you know what? They're hit or miss, mostly miss. There was this one, and of course, like most of them, you got to remember people are choosing the most flattering pictures of themselves on those apps. Okay. So you have to look at those pictures and know like this is the best this person can look.
Yes.
We'll see how it goes when we get there. Yes. Which, I'm not crazy picky about looks, but I do like to know what to expect.
Yes. Can't blame you.
So I get there and this guy does not look anything like his photos. And he has a neck beard.
Oh, Eryn.
Which I'm sorry to anybody out there listening who has a neck beard right now. Which probably isn't very many people because I think mostly moms listen to this. But just in case, no offense, but I'm not a fan.
Okay.
Not a fan of the neck beard. And then he starts talking. And he's like, well, why are you single? What happened? And I gave him, the short version. And he's like, oh, do you want to talk about it? And I was like, that's not really why we're here. No. So he's like, okay, well, what are you into? And I was like, oh, I'm really into fitness. I'm into reading. I love to read. Just normal stuff. I don't have a ton of time to myself, but that's what I like to do when I do have time. And he was like, oh, cool. I'm really into the mafia. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And he was like, yeah, all the mafia movies. Like, I think they're so cool. Do you know much about the mafia? And I was like, well, not a lot, but like I'm Italian. So, so I know some. And, he was like, oh, well, I'll stop. You probably, you don't need to hear this. Like, you get it. And I was like, oh, okay. But then he didn't stop. And he just kept going on and on. He was like, oh, yeah. And then I went to New York and I went on this mafia tour. And
oh, wow.
I went on this mafia tour and they showed us like where the mafia meets. And I was thinking, like, the whole time I'm thinking, yeah, that's not really a thing. Like, first of all, there's not like a grand mafia meeting like once a week or whatever. And then secondly, it's probably not advertised as such. So they're probably not open to tours.
So did you see this guy again? I'm guessing no.
Girl, no. So this is like the one time that I did this. I'm not proud of it. But I texted my friend and I was like, you've got to help me. Like, I have to get out of this date. Oh. And
did she help you?
She did. She called me. And the next like minute she called me and she was like, hey, I think your dog got out. I think because she lives around the corner. She's like, I think I just saw him run by my house. Your dog got out. And I was like, oh no, I gotta go. My dog got out. So I'm pretty sure he knew, but I'm not proud of it. That wasn't my best moment. But dude, it's just, it got to that point where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, how long do I have to be here before I can leave?
I'm sorry.
How long do I have to be polite before I can leave? Oh, there was another one. There was another one where we went to dinner and like he was, good looking. We were eating, having a good time, great conversation. And then he asked me about previous relationships and I told him, and then I asked him and he was like, oh, you didn't know? I'm in an open marriage. And I was like, I think I would have remembered that. And he's like, oh, I thought it was on my profile, yada, yada. And I was like, pretty sure it wasn't. But I'm not like super into that idea. Like, I don't know if that really aligns with where I'm trying to go. But he was like, well, just think about it. Just think about it. I was like, okay. So I left and then I looked on his profile. Definitely did not say that there. And I texted him and I was like, listen, it's just not for me. It's not for me. Yeah, there have been a few weird ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate this with the kids?
You know what? Again, I'm really open with them. You kind of like
go with the flow and
yeah. I tell them, about my funny dates. I tell them about everything. Well, not everything, but yeah, I'm pretty open with them, and they'll ask me, how'd your date go? And I'll tell them about it. Yeah, it's been good. Sometimes they're like, Mom, I feel like you've been out a lot. Can you like just be home tonight? And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for telling me that. Yes, I will cancel. I will stay home. We'll watch a movie instead.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, it's been, just again, keeping the communication super open has been the best thing for us, because they can tell me like, I'm over it. Do not go out tonight.
Yeah, I need you. Yeah.
And they don't have to be afraid that I'm going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's really good.
So that's been really healthy for us. And they're a big fan of my current boyfriend, which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Is he local too?
He is. Yeah. He lives really close.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Was he previously married or have any children?
No, I kind of hit the jackpot because he has not been married and he does not have any children, and he doesn't want his own children, which is good because this shop is closed, girl. Yeah. My youngest is 8.
Yeah. But I can just imagine these different factors kind of coming together and how you navigate those and work. And I think everybody's situation would probably be a little bit different.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you might.
Different kids, or maybe you do want kids or you don't, or you're maybe coming and you have older kids.
For sure. And
just different dynamics.
It's really helpful. And it took me a while to figure out what I wanted. And I had to go on a lot of dates to figure out what I didn't want.
Yeah.
But just to know, like, I knew by the time I met Eric, I knew what I wanted, and I knew that I did not want any more kids, and I wanted XYZ, and there's certain things that I thought would be important to me that aren't, and there's certain things that I didn't think would be important that are. So it's just, you got to figure out, you got to really examine yourself and figure out what it is that you actually want.
Yeah. But that took some time.
It did. It definitely took time because I thought I would want certain things.
Yeah.
And then, I always joked before that, like, next time I'm going to marry for money. I married for love the first time. I wouldn't make that mistake again. So I always joked about that. And, so at first when I started dating, like, careers were really important, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was one thing that you didn't think was going to be important that actually what became important?
I will tell you, their relationships, the guy's relationship with his friends.
Oh.
No, like...
Can you share more?
Yeah. I found that if a man can maintain relationships with, like, close relationships with friends over a period of time, and that is a huge green flag. If a guy doesn't have close friends or he doesn't really talk to his friends much, that's a red flag because they're not invested in relationship.
Makes sense.
And they're not going to be invested in your relationship.
Oh, wow. I like it.
Yeah. But like, my current boyfriend has a bunch of friends that he's still friends with from middle school and, like, high school, and that was such a green flag for me to know that, like, he still values these people and they value him. They've known him that long and they're still friends with him, so there must be something good there. So that can tell you a lot, who they hang out with, who their friends are. That can tell you a lot about a person.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, I didn't either for a long time. And then I realized a pattern.
Yeah. I mean, it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. As a community of moms, how can we support a single mom friend?
Oh, that's a lovely question. I think just being inclusive and understanding that, like, their needs are going to be different from yours. And, if you plan something during the day, they may not be able to come because they have their kids at home with them all the time. Or if, it's just a different set of needs, and you have so much in common. You have so much in common, but then there is this otherness where like things that you might not have to think about, they do have to think about. I think at first what was really hard was to hear other women complaining about their husbands. That was really difficult for me at first. It's just normal. It's normal. Everybody complains about their husbands and their wives sometimes. Completely normal. But it was really hard for me to hear at that point because I was like, man, your husband actually sounds pretty great. I wish that I had somebody that was supportive of me. And it was hard for me to hear. So at that point, I've gotten a thicker skin now. But in those raw first months, that was really difficult to hear. Just stuff like that. Just be mindful. Just be inclusive. Just be inclusive and mindful that, that mom, if she shows up late, just know she probably didn't have a choice. She was probably, thought she was all set to go out the door, and then 15 things happen. That happens to all moms, honestly. Yeah. But when you're a single mom, you don't have backup. And I mean, I've had people just randomly over the last couple of years be like, hey, can I bring you dinner? And, old me would have been like, no, we're fine. But new me has realized they really want to help.
Yeah,
and
it's okay.
it's so helpful. It's
Yeah.
so helpful.
Yeah.
I will say yes all day long, because that one
Yeah.
thing, taking that one thing off my plate, or even like offering to give their kids a ride somewhere, because
Yeah.
it's just me again. So I'm running my kids all over the place. So just saying
Yeah.
like, hey, can I drop so-and-so off at, soccer practice for you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching my friend navigate this, and she used to be over kind of like an hour away, just down 64 a little bit, and now she moved closer to some family over here. So you leave that kind of little set of friends, and of course it was all couples
Yeah.
at the time, and so now
Yeah.
she's over here, and she's told me a couple of times just not sure like how to navigate, like how do I find a friend in this new neighborhood that, from what she can see is mostly couples.
Yeah. It's hard.
Which you shouldn't, people shouldn't treat each other. It shouldn't make a difference.
No,
right. At
but
all. But it
does.
But it happens.
It does make a difference.
Yeah.
I will say that the people I'm closest to now are single people. I used to have a lot of couple friends, and I'm
Really?
still friends with them.
Yeah.
But we just don't have as much in common anymore, and that's okay. That was really hard to navigate at first, because I felt like I was losing friendships.
Yeah.
But then I had to realize I wasn't losing them. They were just changing.
That's a good perspective. To have.
I had to kind of settle into that and see how I could still make that changed relationship like a fruitful one.
Yeah.
And then I have gotten really close. I have a few friends who have been through similar things, and we've gotten super close over the last couple of years, because it's just, you gravitate toward who you have things in common with.
Yeah.
You just do. And it's comforting. And, I have a single mom friend that lives around the corner from me, and her kids are in similar ages to mine. So, when I'm having a tough day, I'll text her and she'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I felt like that last week. You're doing a great job. Just knowing that they've been there and can offer support and encouragement is a big deal. So yeah, you might feel like you're losing some friendships. You might lose some friendships. There have been some of my friendships that haven't survived, which has been tough. But the ones that I have fostered, and the ones that have, when a disaster happens, some people run away from it and some people run toward it.
Yeah.
And the people that ran toward my disaster, we are super close now, which is
That's great.
super rewarding, and another gift of, what came out of this terrible situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully we as moms, we can just think and go back to that, like, we are moms, like, hey, if we do a girls' night or something, like,
Yeah.
we're kind of all the same. We're all moms.
Yeah.
And to hopefully include maybe that neighbor, maybe you don't even
Yes.
know her. So I just encourage, and I'm speaking to myself, like, hey,
Absolutely.
reach out to that person and include them. They can say yes or no. Totally fine.
Just to be conscious
But
of it.
just to be
Yeah.
aware. Be
Yeah.
aware that there's all kinds of different people in your neighborhood, and to be inclusive, like you said.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really
I
good
will
point.
say the first really hard thing as far as that went was when my kids first started going to their dads on the weekend. I was so lonely, because all of my married friends, they're having family time. They've got soccer games. They're with their husband on the weekends. Their husband worked all week. They're with their husband on the weekend. And my kids were gone, and I would just be alone. So that was really hard at first. I had to get used to it. Now I enjoy my alone time.
Yeah, I'm
But that
sure.
was hard because you realize, like, weekends are kind of sacred for families. You can't really barge in on their family time. But then I'm sitting here alone. I don't have my family. My family's not here. That was really difficult. But again, I've reached out to my single mom friends, and we've really made it work.
Yeah. Does anybody ever fall on a similar schedule to where you guys can get together, like,
Yeah, my friend
just,
that lives
like, just
around
a mom
the
and have lunch or something?
Yeah, my friend that lives around the corner also has a very similar schedule to me. So that's been
Okay.
amazing.
That's really cool.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
we've gotten really close, which is great.
That's just so good for support.
I know. I've been really lucky yeah, she's been great. And she's been single for longer than I have. So she's almost been kind of like a mentor for me. Okay. And she's been so supportive. And the fact that our kids are friends is a huge bonus.
Wow, that's incredible. Incredible. Okay. As we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you would give to a woman that has recently become a single mom? Whatever the circumstances might be.
Yep. Do the next right thing. Just one foot in front of the other. Don't look too far ahead because you will be overwhelmed and you will shut down. Just do the next right thing. Just one moment at a time.
Yeah, I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
For anything, but especially
that's all I could do for the first year was just one foot in front of the other. Okay, today I'm going to work. And then I'm going to pick up my kids. I'm going to pick up my kids and I'm going to take them home. Just one task at a time. Don't think about, well, what about Christmas? What about this? What about that? Nope. Yeah. Just today.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
Lindi.
appreciate
You did a great job filling in.
Thank you.
You're such a delight.
All right, guys. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.